Picture this. There's a man sitting alone in a quiet coffee shop. Around him, people are locked into their screens. Couples obsessively curate the perfect selfie. Friends trade shallow gossip between sips of overpriced lattes. Lone browsers swipe endlessly through dating apps, chasing connection like it's oxygen. But this man, he's different. He's not scrolling. He's not swiping. He's got earbuds in, not blasting music or tuning into drama. He's listening to philosophy. While others numb their brains with TikTok, he's sharpening his mind. He's not alone because he's unwanted. He's alone because he chooses to be. And that, my friend, makes him the most dangerous person in that room. Why? Because in a world addicted to external validation, someone who's completely self-contained is an anomaly, a threat, a glitch in the system. And society doesn't like what it can't control. Let's break this down. The lie about being alone. Here's the lie society sold you, that being alone is a problem, a flaw, a failure. From ads to dating apps, from motivational speakers to influencers, everything you've been fed has one unspoken premise. You are incomplete without others. Find your soulmate. Join the tribe. Grow your network. Humans are social creatures. They dress it up as wisdom, but it's programming. You were trained to feel broken if you're not constantly surrounded, constantly connected, constantly liked. But what if that's all backwards? What if the person who thrives in solitude isn't broken but free? What if the man who sits quietly in his own presence is the most evolved version of us all? That's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. Because here's what I've learned. Society doesn't fear the man who needs connection. It fears the man who doesn't. Two men who knew the truth, Marcus and Nietzsche. Let me introduce you to two thinkers, separated by centuries, who embodied this threat to the social order. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. He ruled over millions, commanded armies, and held unimaginable power. Yet every night he sat alone and wrote, not to impress, not for legacy, for himself. In his journals, on which would later become meditations, he questioned everything. His fears, his cravings, his need for approval. And in one of his most striking lines, he wrote, "All cruelty springs from weakness." This was no ordinary ruler. He understood that inner peace is stronger than outer dominance, that a man who doesn't seek approval cannot be enslaved by it. Centuries later, Friedrich Nietzsche would take that same spirit to war against the herd mentality. He warned us, the individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. He saw what most miss, that society fears the free thinker, the outsider, the man who doesn't blindly follow. Both Marcus and Nietzsche understood this. The one who can be alone is the one who can think clearly. And the one who can think clearly is the one who is truly free. The psychology of the dangerous loner. Let's get real. What's going on inside the mind of someone who embraces solitude? First, they've kicked the drug of external validation. They don't care about likes, follows, or applause. Their self-respect isn't for sale. They're not posting to be seen. They're living to be whole. Second, they've made peace with discomfort. Most people panic in silence. They can't be alone without reaching for their phone. Why? Because silence is a mirror, and most people hate what they see. But this man, he's had those 3 a.m. stare-downs with himself. He's faced the fear, the insecurity, the regret, and he didn't run. He listened, he learned, he grew. Third, they're immune to manipulation. They don't need your approval, so you can't control them. They don't fear rejection, so you can't silence them. They don't crave status, so you can't bribe them. They are dangerous because they are untouchable. The Marcus method, training through solitude. Marcus didn't just write in his journal to vent. He had a method, a discipline. Each evening he asked himself 3 questions. What did I desire today that I didn't actually need? What did I fear that was outside my control? Where did I compromise myself for approval? This was self-examination as a martial art. He was building strength, not in his arms, but in his mind, because he knew. A man who truly understands himself cannot be easily fooled, not by flattery, not by guilt, not by fear. Nietzsche's rebellion. Build your own beliefs. Nietzsche took it even further. He didn't just question desire, he questioned morality itself. He said, "On he who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But here's the twist. Most people live by a why they never chose. They believe what their parents believed. They repeat what their culture handed them. They obey rules they never agreed to. But the loner, the dangerous one, he asks the hard questions. Why do I believe this? Who benefits from me believing it? What would I believe if I started from zero? And that's where he becomes dangerous, because once you start thinking for yourself, you stop being predictable. You stop being useful to the machine. You become a problem for the system. Solitude versus loneliness. Don't get it twisted. Let's draw a line in the sand. Loneliness is the feeling of being incomplete. It's an ache, a craving, a belief that something vital is missing. Solitude is the opposite. It's not lack, it's fullness. It's the ability to sit in silence and feel whole. Society deliberately blurs the two because lonely people are profitable. They buy things, they chase distractions, they stay compliant. But people who enjoy solitude, they're unpredictable. They're dangerous, they think, and thinking is a threat to systems built on automatic obedience. The 4 pillars of dangerous solitude. After studying Marcus, Nietzsche, and other great minds, I found 4 traits that define the truly dangerous man who lives well in solitude. 1. Radical self-honesty. He doesn't lie to himself, he doesn't sugarcoat. He faces reality, even when it's brutal. This makes him immune to deception because he's already cut through his own. 2. Value independence. His morals aren't inherited, they're earned, forged through reason and experience. He can't be manipulated with shame because his compass doesn't point to popularity. 3. Emotional self-sufficiency. He doesn't chase affection. He doesn't collapse when he's misunderstood. He generates peace from within. 4. Intellectual courage. He questions the sacred. He challenges the crowd. He speaks truths that others are too afraid to whisper. That's not recklessness, that's power. The price of this power. Let's be honest, this path isn't easy. You'll be misunderstood. People will call you cold, distant, antisocial. You'll lose friends, not because you changed, but because you grew. You'll feel separate, not disconnected, but set apart, because you'll see things others don't want to see. And once you see, you can't unsee. There will be pressure to come back to the herd, to soften, to conform, to make others comfortable by shrinking yourself. But the price of conformity is higher than the price of solitude, because the price of conformity is your soul. Why the self-sufficient scare people? Let's break it down. Economics. Self-sufficient people don't buy garbage to fill emotional voids. They ruin consumer culture. Social control. They don't play status games. You can't rank them. You can't guilt trip them. Politics. They don't vote with the crowd. They're hard to program. They think too much. Psychology. Your independence reminds others of their chains. Your peace makes their chaos feel louder. Your strength makes their excuses look weak. Becoming the modern stoic. So how do you become dangerous in the best possible way? Start small. Spend 10 minutes a day with no distractions, no phone, no noise. Just you and your thoughts. Do the evening review. Ask, what did I crave? What did I fear? Where did I fold? Challenge every belief. If you didn't choose it, question it. Start building your own framework. Create your own code. Don't borrow your morals. Build them from your lived truth. Reclaim your mind. Read, walk, reflect. Let your thoughts mature without interference. Kill the craving for applause. The minute you stop needing approval is the minute you become powerful. The paradox: the less you need, the more you attract. Here's the beautiful irony. When you don't need anyone, people are drawn to you. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you radiate something rare: wholeness. You don't chase love, so your relationships are healthier. You don't beg for validation, so your work is cleaner. You don't need applause, so your soul can breathe. The final challenge: stay dangerous. So here's what I'll leave you with. Be the one who doesn't bend. Be the one who doesn't flinch. Be the one who walks alone. Not because you have to, but because you choose to. Be dangerous, not with violence, not with ego, but with clarity, with peace, with integrity that no one can touch. If this spoke to something inside you, share it. You know someone who needs this. Drop a comment. What's one belief you've followed that was never really yours? What's one way you've been begging for approval instead of building self-respect? In a world of people desperate to fit in, the most revolutionary thing you can do is learn to stand alone. Stay dangerous.